EAs, otherwise known as emotional affairs. These are profoundly hurtful because they intrude on the innermost sacred circle of a trusted relationship. Usually what happens in an affair is first there's a vulnerability, then there's a crossing of boundaries, where secrets come in. Then there's the admission, the acceptance, and 99.9% of the time, a separation. Because as we all know, emotional affairs are all about limerence or, the dopamines and things like that. And once all that calms down, it's like, okay, reality sets in. This isn't the person I wanted to pursue. So in other words, the phases and stages that I call solidify, magnify, intensify, justify, vilify, and eventually die. Those are so basically, one of the things we have to do is realize, somebody had a vulnerability, somebody had a weakness, and then there was some opportunity. So basically, and I want to say, unlike, say, sexual affairs, sexual trysts, or addictive behavior, sexual addictive behavior, emotional affairs are usually never meant to happen. And I hate saying that because, nobody ever says, oh crap, I wish this didn't happen, or it just happened, or it just fell into it. No, there are choices, there are decisions, so absolutely take responsibility. There's no doubt about that. But what I'm saying is, unlike, say, meeting somebody at, a massage parlor or calling a sex worker, those are intentional. Emotional affairs usually are not initially intentional. What happens is somebody's talking to somebody and, they hit something within them, a core insecurity, and then they feel heard or they feel listened to or they feel alive. A lot of times in a marriage, and listen, the average marriage, it's unintentional, but you get going, you go day to day, then it's the jobs and it's the kids and it's volunteering, and you kind of you lose a little touch with your spouse and you don't check in as much. And maybe the spouse doesn't feel heard or doesn't feel, never an excuse by any means. So there's a vulnerability, and then there's an opportunity, and, next thing you know, there's a detachment there with secrets and stuff. So again, usually, emotional affairs are not sought, but they do occur. And the reason I say, solidify, magnify, intensify, justify, vilify, eventually die is because at first, we kind of tell secrets and, you're kind of solidifying that relationship. And then magnify once those dopamines come out and, those feel-good limerence chemicals, whatever, you kind of magnify. And then a little bit later, feel, oh, this person gets me, they understand me, they hear me, they listen, they care for me. That intensifies. And then what happens is you start to justify, well, if my spouse wasn't so this and this, I wouldn't be doing this. Or if, my spouse didn't do that, I wouldn't do that. So you start to justify. Then you vilify. You start talking bad about your spouse. Well, they never did this, or they never made me feel this way, or they're always doing A, B, and C. So that's why you vilify. And this is one of the hardest things to heal after an emotional affair, is when you find out or you hear that your partner talked bad about you to their other spouse. But anyways, I'll get into that another time. Just keep in mind, there was a vulnerability, there was insecurity, there was something that they lacked internally because it had nothing to do with you, or, nothing to do with the person that they strayed from. It was all about them. And there was an opportunity. And unfortunately, they didn't take that as an opportunity to look inward and say, let's heal our relationship, our marriage. They tried to fill that void, in an unhealthy way. So the thing I just want to say is, number one, it's not an instant fix. It is not a quick fix by any means. Somebody broke into your most inner intimate circle. This is going to take some time, and you got to be patient with healing. You got to be patient. There's a lot of autopsies that you got to take, personal autopsy, personal inventory to say, why did this happen? And is this, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future? So rebuilding, healing is absolutely possible, but you got to give yourself time. You got to give yourself patience. You got to give yourself empathy, and you got to give yourself compassion. Best of luck.